In this tutorial, we're going to build this nice card hover effect in Bricks Builder. As you can see, I have this canvas prepared, so we will build this together. Now, you don't need to have a Bricks Builder to build this. You could build this in Elementor or any sort of page builder, or you could just use pure code, how I do it most of the time. So if you hover over it, we have a nice little sliding up effect, and the content appears one after the other. So it's not instantly in one go. It has got a delayed on a transition, and I'm going to quickly show you how that works in the code. So we have this. Let me split the screen. As you can see, if you're going to code this, then we have a container as a card to contain the image and the content, and the content has three other containers, which is the info, description, and the cast. So we can nicely lay this out. In the style sheet, we have a default reset, as typically you have in a VS Code or any editor. Now the card itself is set to 37 rem max width and 55 rem as height, and set to position relative because we need to set the card content as a position absolute, so we can have nice sliding effect. Okay, otherwise this is what it looks like. If I take this overflow, you see the content is below, and if I hover over it goes up, right? That's what happens. So let's go into the Bricks Builder. Let me just get this out the way as well, because I don't need this. Now in Bricks we have a section, 100% width, 100% viewport height, as you can see, and the container set to 120 rem width, and it's placed in the middle by the section. So what we want to do is add a card, not two cards, just one card. Let's name this card. So we add the block, and what we want to do, I already got a class prepared for this, and all you do is set the width to 37 rem and the height 55 rem, and of course the border radius as well to 1.8 rem, which is 18 pixels. Now what we need is the image, and we need as well another container, so we could use a block or the div. So let's play around with the block. Sometimes the way it works, it doesn't always work the way you want to. So let's put the image later. What we need is three containers, 1, 2, 3. So we'll call this info. I can't even spell it now. Info. Jeez, info. Okay, we actually don't need this. We can put a basic text, right? My mouse playing around. Basic text, which would be, I don't want this in the info, it needs to be out. Description or text, let's call it, and then casts. Okay, so what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is simply copy the text I have in the VS Code, because I don't want to waste my time on making everything like, it saves me a lot of time just to copy and paste. So here's the title, free guy. Let's set this to, I don't know, H1, not linkable, so let's call it card title. And what we want to do is go to what did I set this to, 1.6 rem I believe. Let me just double check, maybe 2.4 actually. So 2.4 rem, uppercase, put a pop-ins for now, make this bold. Also later we will change the color. Now what we need as well is in this card info, we need a paragraph. So basic text, this will be, let's call it date, or call it micro info. because on here we're going to have is this. Let me just copy and paste. We're going to set this to a P paragraph. We don't need to put any any class on this. I believe this is 1.4 color. Again, we're going to change it later. Poppins, leave it how it is. Weight 300, make it light, whatever you want to make here. And then what we have is actually, after this card info, we have a card description, okay, which is, again, I'm going to copy and paste there. I'm going to put a P on this. Not too sure why is this doing that way. Makes no difference at this point. And then we have the casts. So we need to add here is a class called card description. Basically, casts we want to do is add card casts. Okay, and in this card, what we're going to need to do is add a heading, which we could set this to H3 how it is, and just call it casts. I don't think I have actually, let me just double check my code if I have actually set any class on this. No, so leave it how it is. What we're going to do is simply go to what it is, the cast. Let me just quickly check. The font size is 1.6 rem. Again, set it to Poppins, make it 600. That's more than enough there. And the casts, what is it? The description. So content description is 1.6 rem as well. I believe we haven't set this up. 1.6 rem. Poppins. Font weight, I'll say leave as 500, right? Doesn't matter. It's up to you how you want to make the changes here. It's up to you there. What we need to add here is actually a div, right? And we're going to call this card profiles. And in here, we're going to add images. I'll keep putting img because that's what you typically write. And let's just give a class name as well, makes it easier. Typically, I don't actually have this in my VS Code, but I'm going to add this here because then we don't have to keep going and make the types change. So let's put a img as a class for now. What we want to do is set the width of this to 5 rem, height to 5 rem, border radius. Oh, actually, we cannot set this to img. We need to set this to something else. Let me set this to profiles img. That makes better. The reason why is because this is on a local development and I already have the class somewhere else on a different example, and I think it's the slider. So what we don't want to happen is make changes in the slider, so later we'll have to remove those values. Color 50%, border radius. Now what we need is a other image, so the person's face, and we just have to wait for this to load up. Is this even added? Save, refresh. We have added, so why is it not working? Ah, there it is. Now, cover, bottom left, no, top left. Yeah, leave it like that. Makes no difference, it's only an example. All you have to do then is just duplicate and duplicate again. Now what we want actually here is make sure that this is actually set into a flex, and we want to make sure it's aligned in the middle, same as the casts. So what we do is, oops, but I need to set this width to 100%. And what I need to do in here, why is this actually, there it is, there it is, 1 rem. That's fantastic. Right, so what we also need to do is make sure we have on the content set up card underscore content, and we need to put padding 2 rem around, just makes it better. Also we need to set up the column, and we need to put 2 rem, nice gap, right? So now what we can do is get a background. What is the color? I'm just gonna quickly get a color for my background of the VS Code. I believe that is 28, 26, 26.08. Excellent. And now what we can do is change the color in here. Right, very simple and easy, nothing too complicated. Also what we need to do on those images, right, what we need to actually do is, if we go into the CSS, I'm just gonna double check on mine, so make sure we don't have too many nonsense here. So what we do is root, then go, what do we put this what did we put this as? So let me just copy this again. Let's go back. Not first child, I believe that's correct, and I need brackets, so margin left 1 rem, or minus 1 rem. There you go. So they're sort of overlapping each other, right? That's what we want. That's how we have it in this. And now what we need to do is on the content, we want to go here, add root, which is, I believe, let me double check what I spelled this, or maybe I just copy and paste that, will be easier. And it should work. And I think what we need to do is just add the card image now, which will be card underscore image, just in case. Okay, make this cover. Fantastic, that's all good. Just to make sure the width is on the height 100%. Now the card, we need to set this in position relative. Okay, this bar content, we need to set this to position absolute, which is, if I find it over here. Okay, now you could see this over the top when we got this sort of a blur effect, right? But we don't want this on the top of it, so we need to have it left 0. If we put bottom 0, it will be at the bottom. Okay, but what we want is minus 100%, so it's other way. Now if we go into the card, so I'm just going to copy this, makes life easier. If we go into CSS, put root, okay, there's one more thing, hover, and we forgot a dot, bottom 0, save it. It appears immediately, right? So what we need to do is, if we go into the content itself and we got a transition, let me just copy and paste the transition. But also what we want to put is the index 1, just in case. So now we have a nice sliding in effect. Okay, what we need to do is over here, we could even put it here, let's go in here, overflow hidden, save. We have a nice little effect coming up. Now to make the text appear one after the other, like here, I think the text over here is smaller than here. Makes no difference for now. The point is making a, I forgot one thing here, don't worry about that. You could add this later yourself as well. To make this text appear one after the other, we need to do something else. What we need to do is go into the content. We need to have this root hover. On the hover over, oh no, sorry, it's not this way, it's actually when on card. Okay, so let's go into the card. Did I delete this? Yep, I deleted. So here what we need is root. You know what, I'm actually going to copy this and paste, because it would make life easier. Let me just quickly find this in my VS Code, because that way we don't have to waste time. So in the okay, let me just do this card info. So this is the root, and where is the card info? Content card, this should be card info. We didn't put a class on this, so card, let's go info. And here what we want to do is we want to put root see, it works, comes up. Now what we need to do though in the other parts is actually all we need to is go on the card, because we got transition delay. And the reason why I got transition delayed on the hover is when you hover, it delays the text. If you hover out and you put this on the main, you won't have that effect. It actually will happen when you hover out. It will wait for this to disappear and then we'll kick in, right? So next one is the content description. Again, root. My keyboard just died. Nice. My other keyboard just died. Right, let me just reset the keyboard. Brilliant. In the middle of the tutorial. Root. Save. Card and a card description. Did we put a description on? I know why. Because we haven't actually put where's the description? We need to keep forgetting, because obviously when you do a page builder you have to do it completely different. Now appears, so you need to put the transition into the main element, and then as you set the transition delay on whatever the hover kicks in. Next things, let's quickly add this as well into here. I believe that is into the casts. Yeah, so root. Okay, if we go into the card, so what we need is this. Let's hope my keyboard doesn't die again. Save. For some reason the image now is not appearing, and I wonder why. Because I done it the wrong way, didn't I? So we put this into the cards profile. We need to remove this in this div, right? Let's copy and paste. We need to go into the casts over here. Now it works, you see. Let's save this. Let's go on preview. What the hell is going on? There you go. Nicely, just like that. And you can put a box shadow over here if you want to. But hopefully you understand how to do this. Obviously we forgot to add this, and the size of the text is a bit different, but it makes no difference as long as you understand how it works. So let me quickly run through this again, just to make sure you understand it. So then you could apply this to any element. We have a parent container, which is the card of all the elements, and in there we have the image and the content. If you want to have this hover effect, you need to apply the hover on the parent, and then it will apply the animation going. So obviously on the content we set this as a bottom minus 100%, and we put transition on the actual element. But when it comes to hover effect, we put this as on the card itself, the parent of that content. So when we hover over the card, we make sure the card content goes from minus 100% to 0, so it sits at the bottom of this. If we want to get this card info to delay and the other information, again we apply this effect, the delay on the actual hover effect, but the transition on the actual elements like the info, the description, the cast containers, right? Hopefully you understand this. Hopefully you know how to now make it, and just play around, you know, just experiment, see what happens when you put actual a transition delay on the main parent instead of the hover effect, and you will see there's a difference. So if you put a delay on the, let me actually show you in probably in a VS Code. Let me quickly show you. Let me give my VS Code. Let me to split screen again. So what we will do is, let me remove this. Let's go to card content. You see bottom. So we're gonna put a delay on here, which would be, let's say, 2 seconds. Okay. Now on the actual card, where is the transition delay here of 0, and that should work. And you see 2 seconds and it will disappear. But this should, the reason why, because you need to put S. If you don't put S, it won't actually work, because it's just the way the transition delay is built. You see, it needs to have an exact unit, either millisecond or the second, right? So the reason why we put 0 seconds on this is because when we hover over, we want to instantly appear. But the reason why we have a 2 second delay in transition on the actual parent element is because we want to, for example, let's say we want this to disappear first, then this, and then afterwards the box itself could disappear. So you will apply this on the actual element, but when you're on a hover, just make sure you put delay as 0 seconds, so then no one waits like 5 seconds for something to appear. You want to instantly appear, and then you want it to do reverse way, so you need to put, hopefully you understand that, right? So yeah, just like that you could make different effects. But I'm gonna remove this, save this, and boom, here you go. So hopefully guys, you learned something new, how to do this cool little effect without any plugins or any additional stuff, just pure CSS. So yeah, let me know what else you want to learn.